Hello, hello. This is Yuri with Moving Sales Professionals and Let's Talk Moving podcast. And once again, I have with me Drewbie Wilson. He's the owner of Call the Damn Leads with 20 plus years in sales industry, 13 plus million dollars in sales, keynote speaker, etc., etc., etc. How you doing today, Drewbie?
I am crushing the day, Yuri. I appreciate you giving me a chance to be here and share some wisdom with your audience, man.
No, I love it. And, I love your whole model to call the damn leads part because that's something that I certainly preach all the time, whether it's to my sales reps or to moving companies, what they need in order to produce and to get their numbers up. Obviously, everybody's talking about that right now. So, how did you come up with the call the damn leads motto and just in general, the whole idea?
I grew up in the streets selling anything and everything I gave my hands on. So I've been in sales my whole life. As I got older, specifically, I got into selling insurance. And a lot of that for me was cold calling, internet leads, like just different random pieces of data that the boss would come in and give me a printed out list and be like, "Here, call these people and sell them." And I'd go, "Golly, okay." And so that's what I would do. I'd just pick up the phone and I would call these leads and I would, sell stuff. And I got pretty good at that. And it got to a point where I realized that if I wanted to sell more stuff, I needed more leads and I needed more quality leads and some different aspects of that. As you know, sometimes you pay a lead vendor, they're like,
Absolutely.
"Oh, these are the best leads ever," and they're trash.
hmm
So I wanted to learn it myself. So that's what I did. I went and learned marketing, started running my own ads, getting my own leads, doubled my production in the insurance world, and a bunch of agents called me and went, "Hey, man, you were already a top guy. You just doubled your production. What did you do and was it legal?" Because Yuri, as you know, people always want to question it if it's
Right,
working. They're like, "Oh,
especially
he's
the
definitely
legality part, right? He's got to be
of
cheating, right?
course." And I know while we were getting ready to record, you were talking about like, "Hey, the laws are we can only be on the road for so many hours before there's rules and regulations that we have to abide by." So they wanted to know that I was abiding by the rules and regs, which I was. And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm doing this. I'll teach you." They like, "I don't want to do it. I'll pay you to do it for me. Just set it up, send me the leads, and let it rip." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I set up all these campaigns. I got these guys all these leads, and Yuri, the one thing they wouldn't do, they wouldn't call the damn leads. So even if I'm great as a marketer and I'm giving you these leads, you still
Mhm.
have to pick up the phone and call them, and they
Absolutely.
wouldn't. And brother, it was a frustration and a headache, and I got out of the marketing industry very, very quick. But what I did save was this funny joke between some friends of mine where I was like, I'm gonna put "call the damn leads" on a t-shirt someday, because if people would just do that, they'd make money and it wouldn't be an
Mhm.
issue. And so I did that. And funny enough, here we are 3 years later. I've turned it into a full-blown e-commerce brand. We do coaching, consulting, all that kind of stuff. But the funniest thing is, it's just a silly joke that is a realistic thing that would make people a lot of money if they would do it. And I think that's why so many people love it.
And now for a word from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com today to learn more. So the hilarious part about what you're talking about is that that's exactly how my company started. Same thing. My former boss made a joke about how I should be doing sales myself for 10 moving plus companies at the time, and I was doing sales for three at the time. And he made a joke about that and how I'm gonna make a fortune, and we laughed about it. And then afterwards, I sat down and I'm like, well, I can't do sales for 10 moving companies, but if I hire some people, if I train them and if I got them to do what I'm doing, then this would be a completely different thing. So same thing. So sometimes the greatest things come out of something really stupid and something humorous, and you end up, and somebody that has the right mindset can turn it around and turn it into something that's becomes valuable to somebody, right? So, but of course, part of it, and this is something that I say all the time, in my opinion, especially as far as moving industry is concerned, in my opinion, anybody can book a sale. Anybody can book a job when it comes to booking a service versus a product. So it's much easier to sell a service somebody needs versus trying to sell them something that they don't need, right? So it's much
Mm,
easier, right? But the part of it is to use and call and call and call. Now, of course, there's a fine line when it comes to the moving industry, right? There's a fine line. If you've actually got somebody on the phone, if you've actually got their inventory, if you actually got the information about their move, you got to go with the feeling of the sales rep on that call. Now, if somebody is new, there might be some corrections that you need to make in regards to what they should feel and what questions they should ask. But ultimately, you got to go with the feeling because some people, when that voice sounds like they're annoyed. Because guess
mm.
what? You make another call to them later that day or the very next day, you're going to lose that lead. So there's got to be fine balance there. But as far as the ones you have not reached, I don't care if you call them 3 times a day, 5 times a day, you got to get them on the phone. Because ultimately, if you're not getting them on the phone, your chance of booking them is zero.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of people forget about, or they don't get, especially in your industry of, hey, this is a speed thing. Like if I need to get something moved, it's not
Absolutely.
tomorrow. I need to get this figured out right now because once this is figured out, I can take the next step in the process and book the next load or take the next thing or move the next customer through the journey. And if as a sales professional, you don't take that to heart and you don't care about getting their goods to the place it's supposed to be in a time that matters, they're not going to want to work with you for very long.
Does your company need more creative marketing and ad campaigns to improve traffic and organic leads? Well, Moving Sales Professionals has a solution for you. We have partnered with social media marketing agency that has over 300 million views on their ads and videos across social media, and they have generated over $35 million for their clients over the last 10 years alone. Their services include content creation, social media ads, pay-per-click campaigns, website and funnel development, Google Ads, email marketing campaigns, lead generation, and much, much more. For limited time only, they have discounted rates for their services. Sign up for a free consultation call with us via our Calendly link on our website or below this video. Right. The other part too is that, of course, for moving sales professionals here, we're more focused on household and office moves. We're not doing transportation so much, right? Very rarely. So we're
Well,
doing
that's
a
good.
lot more closer moving, but at the same time, time is definitely of an essence because what you're doing is you're talking to somebody. If you don't call them, somebody else will. It's that type of world. That's what we're competing with. You're competing with other moving companies. You're competing with brokers. You're competing with all sorts of places. So if you don't reach them or if you don't call them enough, somebody on the other end, somebody for another company, somebody for another place is going to be hungrier and more determined than you. And if they're hungrier and they're more determined than you, they will get that person ahead of you, which means that they got the sale and you didn't. One of the situations that we dealt with, I had somebody that was working directly for a moving company, and that moving company was also buying leads from a broker. So the sales rep called the customer, got the inventory, and instead of calling them again later that day to make sure that they had a chance to look at the quote, to make sure that they had a chance to check the company out, to make sure that, those numbers match now with a few other quotes that they got at that point, that person decided to wait till next day. Well, guess what? That very evening, the owner of that moving company bought a job from a broker, and when he went to put the lead into the system, he found that the lead was already there, and the broker job was sold for $200 more, and of course, the company had to pay the broker more money for this job than he had to pay us to book that job for him direct. So if that sales rep would have simply taken that extra call, and I preach this all the time, if they simply made that one extra call that later that day to the same person, they would have had this job. But
Hmm?
because they decided to wait till the next day, they didn't. That was just a tiny difference between a yes and a no, and that sales rep making the extra money, the company making extra money, and not.
That's what it takes. A lot of people think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, but by tomorrow it could be too late.
You got to remember, there's guys like me out there that you have to compete with. There's guys like Drewbie out there that you have to compete with. And ultimately, if you're not making that effort, and if you're not, you got to be always hungry. It doesn't matter how much money you're making. Like for guys like Drewbie and myself, we're salespeople. right? So realistically, we love this shit. Okay. We love doing this, right? We love the chase probably more than the actual closing because we know if we chase enough, our closing skills will take care of itself. We will close, right? But we love the chase. We love to be able to pull that job away from somebody that already said yes to somebody else. We love that. That gives us a rush, right? So if you're not that type of salesperson, you're in the wrong business, honestly, in my personal opinion. Because, yeah, money comes along with the job. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you have that hunger, if you have that reach, you will make the money. But if you don't have it, and if you don't chase it, and if you don't enjoy the chase, this is not the industry for you. Sales in general, not just moving.
And that's the thing is sales is all about someone who's willing to do the work. And that's really what calling the damn leads is, just doing the work. Sometimes it's calling them, sometimes it's a text, an email, a follow-up, a social media message, whatever it takes. Like call and follow up and have the conversation because the more hands you shake, the more money you make. And ultimately, you're not in sales because you like to not make money. You're here because you want to make money. And a lot of us are here because we didn't have any other option because no one else wanted to take us. So we just had to do what we had to do. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're here, it's because you're designed and cut out to do the work. So go pick up the phone, call the damn leads, do the thing that you do best, and you won't have to worry about the rest of it.
Yeah, you just have to hit the calls. You know what? I have a new girl that I have in the office right now. She's never been in the industry. She's just hungry and she's excited. And you know what? She's making 100+ calls every single day that she's here. And I love it because like I've had people in the office that are sitting 5 feet away from me that hear me pound the phone. Meanwhile, I'm listening and I'm not hearing them do the same. I don't have anybody like that left here, but there's been so many people that work through here where, and I know you were talking about frustrating about how you were getting the leads to them, but the leads weren't getting called. Well, this is the same thing for me because it's like nothing kills me more than having somebody in the office that has the skill, right? That has the skill, that has the gift of the gab, right? That has the ability to get people on the phone. Whatever it may be, the sound of their voice or whatever. Sometimes it's things like that that make a difference. People just listen because they like just the person, just the way they sound on the phone. And that's half the battle. If you sound the part, if you sound like you know what you're talking about, all of that stuff is so important, right? But it's so frustrating when people have those gifts and they don't apply them. And then they come to you and they say, "I'm not making enough money."
Yeah, it's an interesting industry to be a part of and to be a leader in because at a certain point we can give them all the tactics, all the training, all the things, but they
Mhm.
still have to make the decision to
Right.
go and do the work with it. And that's why I'm just grateful that I get an opportunity to hop on calls like this and spend a little time pouring in and sharing what's worked for me, what hasn't, because ultimately if one person takes this, they hear it, they spent a little time with us today and they're like, you know what, I'm going to go call the damn leads and I'm going to do some work. It's going to change your life. It's going to
Yeah.
put you in a position to live and do things that you never thought were possible. And so, Yuri, I appreciate you giving me a chance to hang out for a little bit today. And as much as I'm sure we could chat all day, you're busy, I'm busy, and I want to make sure that I'm, being respectful of time. And man, I'm just grateful that you guys spent a little with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, thank you so much for joining us for this podcast. Drewbie, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day. I know you got another call to jump on. So once again, thank you very much. And like I always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll talk again soon.